Hey there, welcome to Cord Cutters, the show that's all about watching all the TV you want without paying for an expensive pay TV subscription. As you can see, we mixed it up this week a little bit. We're recording this at my house as opposed to a regular studio in downtown San Francisco. And we're also answering a viewer question from a viewer like you. And Steve Jobs, not to be confused with Steve Jobs, but Steve Jobs sent us an email and he said, I'm a cord cutter and I love it. I love all the online video options out there. The only thing that I haven't quite figured out yet is over-the-air television. And we've talked about that before. If you spend a little bit of money for an antenna, this one was $15, then you can receive dozens of channels, many of them in HD. Just plug it into your TV and you're set. Unfortunately for Steve, his reception wasn't quite as good. In his house he had a problem. The only room where you could really watch, or the only place where you could really receive anything, was in his second floor bedroom close to his window or something like that. And that's of course not an ideal situation. His first impetus was, well, I'm just going to get a bunch of cables, a bunch of antenna cables and string them all through the house, go down to the living room and everything. And then his wife said no. And I gotta agree with her. If you're a cord cutter, you don't want to tie yourself up in a whole bunch of new cables. That's not what this is about. Instead, we have a different solution for Steve, and that is the HDHomerun. It's this little device, and it's essentially an HD TV tuner for your computer. We talked about this before. We had the ITV1 on the previous episode. That one was a tuner that you plugged into your computer and then you connected to the antenna, and then you could watch all this over-the-air television on your computer. This one works a little different. You also plug an antenna in right here. This one is the antenna that I use for this. Instead of plugging it into my computer, I use a network cable like this one, and I plug it straight into my router. And then this one receives all these TV signals and then streams them through my home network to my computer. And in this case, I'm watching it on my laptop. It doesn't have any wires, as you can see, and I can watch it anywhere in my house. And so let's take a look at how this looks. So on my computer, if I want to watch now, for example, the local ABC affiliate, I use the ITV software as previously featured here as well. I click on play now, it receives it, and there that looks very delicious, and it looks also like a great signal because it's HD picture. Let's watch it in full screen and get really hungry here. But this is essentially how it works. You stream it through your home network, you watch it on your computer, and then you can use everything that ITV would offer you. If you had a local solution, you can also use over the network. So you can pause the, I was a little too fast there, you can pause the signal at any point, the show that you're watching, and you can change channels, of course. You can schedule recordings, you can watch recordings. You can essentially use it like you would use a let's put it back in full screen here for a second. You can use it essentially like you would use a DVR, like a TiVo or something like that. Record stuff, schedule recordings, browse a TV guide, all of this without being connected to any device, without being connected straight to the antenna with your computer. So there are two small footnotes about this. First of all, I use this device in a bunch of different setups. I brought it to the office, I brought it back home, and sometimes I had a hard time pairing these devices, having my computer recognize this thing. And I think I have finally figured out how to make this easier. So if you buy it, if you run in a similar situation like this, check out the show notes to this episode. There's a way to really easy pair this and really easy configure this. It should help you and avoid a lot of headache. The second thing worth noting is that this one is together with the ITV software. It gets sold by Elgato, the maker of the ITV software, for about $160. Now, if you're not on Mac, ITV is a Mac-only software. If you're not on the Mac, you can also buy the same device from a different company, the original manufacturer actually. It's a company called Silicon Dust. It retails for about $130 online without any additional software. And if you are a Windows user, you can use this with Windows Media Center. If you are a Linux user, you can use MythTV, and there's a bunch of other open source and freeware solutions for Windows and other platforms out there as well. However, if you are a Mac user, ITV really is the best solution for this out there, with the DVR functionality, the programming guide and everything. and $160, it actually saves you some money as opposed to buying the software and the device separately. So if you are a Mac user, just go ahead, buy the bundle for $160. So to sum this up, if you're in a situation like Steve, where you want to watch over-the-air television, but you have reception issues in parts of your house, I think this is a really good solution to take this over-the-air TV everywhere in your house, in your home network. And then, of course, if you don't want to deal with an antenna all the time, maybe you want to watch TV, live TV on your computer, curling up in bed at night, you don't want to connect an antenna to that thing, I think that's a great solution for that as well. It gives you just a lot more freedom, cable freedom, and that's what really this is all about, right? Having said that, we would like to hear from you how you deal with over-the-air television. Maybe you have figured out some special tricks, maybe you have some issues with it, and we love to always hear from our viewers. Maybe you have a question and we're going to turn your question into the next show, answering it, proposing new solutions for it, showing new devices. So send us all your comments, your questions, your thoughts on the subject to cordcutters@gigaohm.com. You can also get in touch with us on Twitter. We are @cordcutters. And finally, we have our Facebook page. So if you go to facebook.com/cordcutters, you can connect with us, you can connect with other viewers, you can learn from each other, and also learn about new episodes, because we have a bunch of new devices coming up. So please stay tuned.